Now, what is this integration? Why you want to go for the integration? See, if two applications want to talk to each other or exchange the information or the functionalities, if two applications or two servers want to communicate with each other, exchange the information across the network, then we go for a concept called integration. Integration is a concept of communication between two applications or two systems or two servers where they exchange the information or data or the services across the network. Now, let me take a simple example. I have ICICI bank account. I have a ICICI debit card. I have ICICI bank account. I have ICICI debit card. I was taking this debit card, going to the SBI ATM. I went to the SBI ATM, withdrawing the money. The debit card what I have, the ATM card what I have is ICICI. I am going to SBI, trying to withdraw the money from the SBI ATM. Now SBI is a different application, ICICI is a different application. Now how this data is exchanged? My details are available in ICICI bank, but I was trying to withdraw the money from SBI ATM. Now what happened? This SBI application will talk to the ICICI application, ask boss, this is the card number, this is the PIN number, can you give me the balance amount? So what happened? These two applications are trying to communicate with each other. So when these two applications want to talk to each other, two servers want to talk to each other, two technologies want to talk to each other, then we require integration. When you are going for integration, let us give a quick. Are we already using integration? Let us say you are using a data loader, right? You are using a data loader. Now, what is this data loader? It is a Spring 2.0 application built on Spring. That is the reason when you are trying to install the data loader, it will ask you JRE is not available, install it. The data loader is what? It's a Java application. Now what are you trying to do with the data loader? You are trying to upload the data. Upload the data into what? Salesforce system. So this Java application taking your CSV file, sending the data to the Salesforce. Salesforce is inserting the data. Now what are you trying to do? Your data loader, which is used to integrate with Salesforce, to send the data, fetch the data, update the data. Now what was this? Integration. Now you are using a deployment, right? You are using a deployment. What are you trying to do? I created a components in the sandbox. I created object 1, object 2, field 1, field 2, workflow 1, workflow 2. I deploy to production. When you deploy, what is happening? When you deploy, what is happening? Whatever that is available in the sandbox, they are recreated by the system on the production. When you say deploy, whatever the metadata components you have selected, they are recreated in the production. How they are recreated? By using SOAP API metadata. By using what? Integration. By using integration concept of SOAP API metadata, they are pushing everything into the production. Now, can we create Apex class from Eclipse? Am I right? Can we create Apex classes and Visualforce from Eclipse? Yes. What is that Eclipse again? It is a Java application. Now, when I create a class in the Eclipse, how that class is created in the Salesforce? Internally, they are using Apex Visual file to create the classes and pages. So, what is that Apex Visual file? Again, it is a concept of integration. So, if two systems are trying to talk to each other, or trying to exchange the data, or trying to exchange the services, we need integration. Now, the integration is of two types. One is declarative integration, other one is programmatical integration. Now, what is this declarative integration? Let us see. Whenever I say integration, it is categorized into two types. It is not only for Salesforce, I am discussing in general. So we have declarative integration, programmatical integration. Declarative integration will come with tools and UI. Declarative integration will come with tools, third-party tools. Like I told you, now we are using data loader. In the data loader, are you writing any program? Somebody has already given a program. They already wrote a program. They gave a tool to you called data loader. We are simply selecting insert, choose the file, enter the name and password, done. We are not writing any program. We are using the UI developed by somebody else and we are trying to insert. That means what? There are two possibilities. Either you write the code or use the code that somebody has written. If somebody has written the code, gave you like a UI, it's a tool. If somebody already wrote a code, gave you like a UI, it's a tool. Data loader is a tool. Where somebody has written a SOAP-based partner WSDL file they used, they created a SOAP-based web service, they give you UI. Now what I am doing, I will open the data loader, insert, import, choose the file, map the fields, next. We are not writing a program, we are only using the UI, trying to integrate the data. Right. So this is called a tool. What is a tool? Somebody has already defined web services and given you the UI to use that integration. Somebody has already developed a web service program and they give you like a UI through which you can connect to the system and integrate your data. Now what are they? Data loader. One of the example, MuleSoft. Then another example, Salesforce to Salesforce integration. Another example, single sign-on. We don't write any programs here. We are only using UI which is provided by the third party and we are trying to integrate with the system. So it is called declarative integration. So in short I can say tools. Okay. Now programmatical. Programmatical integration is nothing but web services. What are these web services? Programmatically, you are defining your services. So, when I say programmatical integration, we generally call it as web services. Web services are programmatical way of integrating two systems. Now, when I go to web services, what are the concepts we have here? SOAP API, SOAP and REST. Right. Any integration you say, Salesforce to Civil integration, Salesforce to somebody has asked me, ServiceNow, Salesforce to somebody asked BlueSoft, Salesforce to Google Map, Salesforce to XYZ system, Salesforce to marketing SMS, whatever the service it may be. If you are trying to integrate one system to another system, programmatically, there are only two concepts, REST and SOAP. Now, system can be anything. Salesforce to ABC system. You are integrated by using either SOAP or REST. There is no other choice. There is no other choice. If you are integrating, SOAP, integrating system A with system B, there is only two possibilities, SOAP or REST. Right? In the SOAP, different categories are there, REST different categories are there. But if you want to write a service to integrate with any other party, there are only two choices. Are you clear? SOAP and REST. So, if you are learning a web services, what are you learning? SOAP API and REST API. SOAP API and REST API. Okay. Internally, there are some more concepts. What are they? Metadata. It is a SOAP API. Somebody say bulk API. It is also REST API. Somebody say charter API. It is also REST. Somebody say streaming API. It's also REST from. Somebody say partner enterprise is also what? So now the rest all the services, metadata, bulk API, charter API, streaming API, partner API, tooling API. Somebody has also asked me tooling API. So what was that? You use any service, it is falling under either SOAP or REST. So when you say web service, we are going to learn SOAP and REST. If you learn the SOAP and REST completely, you can do any type of service with any other system. I hope you're good. So the conceptually, theoretically they may be different, but the implementation part, what they are doing internally is what? SOAP or REST. I hope you are good with this. So when I say integration, declarative integration and programmatical integration. When I say declarative, that we will be dealing with tools or UI based. Tools are UI based, where the program, web service programs are already defined by someone else and they are offering you as predefined UI. Already somebody has written the web service programs and they generated predefined UI. They are offering you like a tool, which is a declarative. Generally used, I told, data loader is one declarative, MuleSoft, Salesforce to Salesforce, SSO, single sign-on. Okay, then we can have this Delboomi, Informatica on Demand. Informatica on Demand, right? So this is the format. Now in the earlier case, somebody asked me declarative programmatic. Now somebody told me I want to integrate with Oracle, take the data into Salesforce. There is a data in the Oracle. I want to take the data into Salesforce. Now the question is, you want to go with a declarative or programmatic? When you want to say declarative, you can use a tool like MuleSoft. You can use a tool like Delboomi. Right? They'll ask you Oracle credential. They'll ask you Salesforce credential. They'll ask you which table in the Oracle you want to transfer to which table in the Salesforce. This is all what? UI. Screen wise we are mapping up. We will make it. No, I want to go with programmatical. If you want to go with the programmatical, then on the top of Oracle, you take some programming language, develop, SOAP or, then give this file to Salesforce. If you give to Salesforce, Salesforce will consume it. Now, if somebody want to write, transfer the data by using a programmatical. Why? Not every company is happy to spend the money for third-party tools. Now, the MuleSoft will not come at free of cost. You have to invest the money. Now, depends upon my usage, depends upon how frequently I am using. I prefer to build my own service. As I told you, if I'm now all the application for which I architect, I never prefer to go with third-party tool. I always prefer to go with building my own services. Depends upon the scope and utility. Now, if you want to transfer the data from Oracle, I don't want to purchase. My client is not happy to purchase the data. Okay, third-party tool. He is not happy to invest the money on third party. Then what I do? I have to define a web service. Now I told you an example. Amazon Web Service I am going to integrate. Now what I have done? I have taken Amazon Web Service. I install SQL Server there. On the Amazon Web Service, I install SQL Server. The data which is in SQL Server, I want to get it to Salesforce. Now what I have done? I have installed Java Spring. I wrote a SOAP API web service on the Java, which will fetch the data from SQL Server, give it to Salesforce. Now from database, if you want to fetch, then either you can go with a tool or you can go with a web service. If it is a web service, you have to define your own service here. Now what is that? On the Oracle, they used a Java program. They created a SOAP API service. They gave me a service. I will make a call to Oracle. Are you getting my point? Everyone is good with this example. Clear? Boss, when you want to transfer the data from Oracle to Salesforce, what do you want? Are you going to use a tool? If your company is willing to purchase a tool, simply integrate both of them with a UI. No, your company is not willing to purchase a tool, then I have to write a web service program to integrate it. Now, the web service program should be there on Salesforce. Web service program should be there on server side. Now, they may use any language of their choice. They may use Java, .NET, PHP, Python, whatever they want. From Salesforce, we are using Apex. Then I am making a call to them, pulling the data. This is web service programming. So, there are only two choices. What is that? Use a tool or go for a web service. Declarative or web service. Declarative means somebody has already defined, they are giving you as predefined UI, which is a declarative. Programmatical, we are defining SOAP or REST. Every service in the web, every service is going to run on SOAP and REST. If you cover SOAP and REST, you can write a web service for any system. I hope you are good with this. That's what I was keep on insisting. Concepts are fixed. Systems may be changing. I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now, when you are going for the declarative or programmatical, very good. Now, if you are going for a programmatical, we need to understand few points here. What are the points here? Look at the point. System 1, System 2. They want to talk to each other. They want to talk to each other. When they want to talk to each other, let us say, when I am explaining, if you interrupt me and ask a question, while I am speaking, if you interrupt me and ask a question, then what happened? Flow will be lost. The flow will be lost. Now what we told? We made one agreement. Boss, while I am explaining, you listen. While you are asking a question, I will not explain. It is a common understanding what we had. So when I am explaining a topic, you will not disturb me. Once I stopped, whatever the query we have, you will be asking. Now what is this? It is an understanding between me and you. Similarly, if two systems want to talk to each other, they will also have certain guidelines. What are those guidelines? They are called protocol. What is the protocol? These are the set of guidelines what both the systems are agreeing to follow while they are in communication. When they want to communicate with each other, well, these two systems want to talk to each other, they have to obey any one of the protocol. Boss, we are following the set of guidelines while communicating. So that set of guidelines are called protocol. So generally we use HTTP protocol, SMTP protocol, TCP, this type of protocols we use. Now tell me where we are using these protocols in your Apex development. You are using email services, right? You are using email services, sending an outbound message, receiving an inbound message. Generally, if you want to achieve that concept, we have to install SMTP server. We go with the regular programming language, we have to go for SMTP server. We have to install the server, then only the mailing services will happen. But in the Salesforce, we are getting this as what? Built in. How your emails are going? With the help of SMTP server. Inbound emails and outbound emails. Internally, the concept is running on SMTP server. Right. Now we are going with the HTTP protocol. What is this HTTP protocol? Boss, if you want to open any Visual Force page, How are you opening? Salesforce.com/apex/page name. What is the protocol we are using? HTTP protocol. HTTP protocol. You're also having, okay, HTTP protocol. Now, I hope you're good. So we have a set of protocols. Now, if two systems want to talk to each other, they have to choose any one of the protocol, and the guidelines of the protocol has to be obeyed by both the system. Then only they can talk to each other. Very good. The next one. They agreed to use HTTP protocol. Okay. Then let us go to the next system. Next, they want to send some data. They want to send some data. These people also want to send some data. Now, if you send the data in whatever the way you want, how does I understand? Now, let us say somebody from Punjab, somebody from Hyderabad. This guy want to propose this girl. This fellow know only Telugu, that girl only know Punjabi. Now they cannot talk to each other. Now they told boss, let us not speak in our native language, let us speak in English and communicate with each other, so that they know what they are trying to communicate. Are you getting my point? So if you send the data in whatever the order you want, if I receive the data in whatever the order you have sent, and I am sending my own order, it is difficult for the people to understand what exactly you are trying to convey or transfer. There is a reason they came to one common understanding. Boss, I will send you the data in the JSON format. It is going to be in the form of key value pair. Boss, I am going to send the data in XML format. Boss, I am going to send the data in text format. So, before the people communicate with each other, they have to convey in which format they want to exchange the data. If you say I am following JSON format, I know how to take the data from JSON. If you tell me it is a XML format, I know how to take it. So you have to convey me, boss, how will we exchange the data? Shall we exchange the data in the form of JSON or XML or text? These are the three common ways in which data is exchanged. So how the data is exchanged? JSON, XML or text. That is the reason why we are starting our course with understanding how to create the data in JSON, how to create the data in XML. That is the reason why I am starting the second topic as HTTP. Now, if you understand the format of the data, then we understand the rules of protocol. Once we understand the rules of protocol, then we communicate with each other. I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now, the third point here is when you are sending a request, this person is sending a response. Boss, if anybody who asks me, will I give a response? If I go to bank and say, give me the balance of this account number, will I give? Boss, give me 10,000 from this account number, will you give? No. Now, if I go to Google and ask, give me the REST API documentation, it will give you. Now there is some data which is open for everyone. There is some data which is secure. Now, if you want to communicate with each other, if you are requesting a data, the server is going to ask, boss, the client is going to ask, boss, is it a secure data or open for everyone? If it is open for everyone, no authentication is required. No security is required. No, it is not open data. It is only available for specific people. Then they'll ask you, how can I get that resource? If it is only for specific people, if I want the data, how can I get the data? That's the second question. I hope you got my point. That's where the authentication system came into the picture. So we had protocol, we have data. The third point is authentication format. Okay. Let us spend some time in understanding the formats of authentication what we have. Look at this, boss. This is a Amazon website, or let us say it is a ICICI. It is a Amazon website. Then This is ICICI Bank. Now, Amazon.com. The worst thing that happened to man's life is this Amazon. Previously, only people used to go for shopping on Saturday, Sunday. But now on, everyday shopping only, at the end of the credit card bill only we find it. Now, this is Amazon.com, this is ICICI Bank. Then Amazon people told Satish, you can purchase a product on Amazon, make a payment from the Amazon. I purchased some products. Then they asked me to, okay, let me make first system like ICICI people told Satish, we introduced online banking. Whatever the payments you want to do, we can make it from online. They told HTTP ICICI online.com. This is what they told. So they told Satish, we introduced a new feature, online banking. You can transfer the fund or make a payment from online. They told enter your username, password. I'll discuss one by one security mechanism, which we are going to discuss. Then they had username, password, login. Now I entered my data, some password I entered. When I clicked on logged in, now it went to ICICI Bank. When the request is going to ICICI Bank, somebody tampered it. This guy is eagerly waiting for me to log in. This guy tampered the request. He tampered my request. Then whatever the data I was sending, he hacked it. Now they asked, now whatever the data I am sending, this person applied a proxy, received my data, and he sent the request on behalf of me. I have tried to withdraw 1,000 rupees. This guy withdrawn 1 lakh rupees from my account. Now, why he was able to tamper? Because the protocol is HTTP protocol. It will not ask you whether you are genuine or not. Okay, if somebody is able to tamper your request, they can capture the data whatever they are passing. The username, password can be captured, and on behalf of you, I have sent a request. Then 1 lakh is withdrawn from my system. Then I made a call to ICICI Bank. I told, boss, I lost 1 lakh rupees. He told, it's your responsibility to maintain username, password securely. We are not responsible for this. Then I stopped using online banking. Then again, he made a call. They told Satish, we updated our system to advanced security mechanism. You can use online banking. I told, I will not trust. Right? They told, no boss, we have very advanced security mechanism. This time your username, password will not be secured. Then I asked, how it is possible? Now I have told ICICI Bank, I will not trust you. Then ICICI Bank asked me, who will you trust? I told I will trust Microsoft. If the Microsoft people say I am secured, will you accept? I told yes. Then these ICICI Bank people went to the Microsoft, purchased one certificate. Purchased what? Certificate. Which is a SSL certificate, which we call as SSL or TLS. Now this what? If you are a CSE guy, triple DS algorithm with RSA 128, is there, right? That's what the key. Now this is a private key what they are going to give. Okay, so they are going to purchase a key. Now they will install this certificate in their system. Now if anybody want to access the resource from the server, now it should not be HTTP, it should be what? I'm just giving a rough overview, boss. Don't dig in much. Now the URL has become what? HTTPS. Now I told, boss, Microsoft gave me a certificate. If I install this, Microsoft saying my resource is secure. Then I billed the Microsoft. Then I opened my HTTPS www.online.com, icconline.com, entered username password. Again this fellow was eagerly waiting. When I entered, he captured, then okay, then the data came here to his system. Then told, show me your certificate. It is a Microsoft certificate. Show me your key so that I will decrypt the data. You cannot decrypt my data like this. Show me your certificate. With the certificate only I can decrypt. Certificate is not matching. No. One certificate, generally one IP address. So I will deliver the data only to the system which has that particular IP address or the certificate. So let anybody tamper, data will not be delivered to them. They may tamper it, but the data will not be delivered. Data will be delivered to only that system which has that particular valid certificate. So my request is going to only ICICI Bank. Right? How my system has become secured? By using SSL or TLS certificate. So how to authenticate? How to make a request to third-party system with the help of certificates? That is one concept. That's what we are going to learn. How to integrate with third-party system with the help of certificates. Now, when I use a certificate, request will go to only destination. If anybody tamper also, data will not be delivered. That is the reason why all your online banking systems, online transactions, what we use? HTTPS. We ensure that it is HTTPS. Am I right or no? That S is not security. It is a certificate. Okay. This is the format. So this is solved. The next time, Amazon came into the picture. They told, now what is happening? Previously, when you want to make a payment, Amazon people opened an online store. They told people can purchase anything from here. Now it is what is the website here? HTTPS Amazon.in. So I am very much sure my data is going to Amazon. But the problem is my username password I am entering. When I want to make a payment, they are asking my ICICI username password. I entered my username password in ICICI. Then what happened? This data is going to Amazon. Amazon is sending a request to ICICI. Now what happened? The data what I was entering, the Amazon people misused it. Then I made a shopping for 10,000. They have made a transaction for 20,000 because I am entering my data on their website. I am entering my username password on their website. This is the old system. In the old system, this is how we used to enter. I entered my username password on Amazon website. Though those people captured my username password, misused it. Then I stopped using Amazon. Then I asked them, why Satish nowadays you are not doing online shopping? I told last time when I made a 10,000 transaction, I got 20,000 bill. I am not happy. I don't feel Amazon is a secure place to enter my details. Then they asked, the problem is you don't want to enter your credentials on my website. Am I right? I told yes. Okay. Now, are you happy if you enter your credentials on ICICI Bank? Your bank is ICICI. If you directly enter your credentials on ICICI website, are you okay? Are you happy with that? Yes, I am. Then this Amazon removed this process of entering the username password. They told, choose the bank what you want. Then I told ICICI. Immediately what happened? One pop-up window opened for me. Where this window says this. So whose website is this? ICICI. So where I was entering my data? On the ICICI. So whatever the credentials I am entering here, it is going to what? ICICI, because that's HTTPS. The request will go to ICICI. Right? Now what is that? Don't enter your credentials on my Amazon website. You choose the bank, a pop-up window will open where the window of your bank will open. You enter your credentials on your bank website only. Now this bank website, they will go and talk to the ICICI and they ask me, Satish, you are giving access to Amazon for payment. I told yes. So where I was entering my credentials? On ICICI. Right? But the site is Amazon. So user has some data on the server You want to access the data on the server, but you don't want to enter the credentials on client. Then he is using the system. What is the system called? Open authentication, OAuth. What was the system? OAuth authentication. By using this OAuth mechanism, we'll be achieving this type of security. Now this is Satish want to access his account. Satish want to access his account. So ICICI Bank connection with the Satish username password. No, SBI want to talk with ICICI, then there will be no username password. Application to application. There the format is again OAuth client credentials, OAuth code format, OAuth username password, OAuth refresh token. Are you getting my point? In the OAuth, different mechanisms are there. So what is that? Certificate based, OAuth based. Other one is open to everyone. Other one is open to everyone. I hope you are clear. So what we are going to discuss? We are going to discuss the security mechanism of certificate, security mechanism of OAuth, security mechanism of open to everyone. Then I have the third one. Boss, this process is very lengthy. Every time I cannot follow this. Let us do one thing. I will give you one key. I will give you one key. Right. Now this room is locked. I gave you key. Now you come inside, open the key, come in. If you give the same key, I'll give the resource. I gave you key. If you, whenever you want any data, you produce that key, I'll give the data. Give the data. Now I am going to give you one key. Whenever you want any data, you are going to produce that key. Key is matching, I'll give the data. Now the problem is it's just like Hawala. So I give a secret code, you come and tell the secret code, I'll give the money. Now whoever tell the secret code, I'll give the money. I'm least bothered who are you. If you tell me the secret code, I'll consider that it is Satish, I'll give the data. So when you are going with the key based, I gave a key, whoever is giving that key, same key, I will consider that it is Satish. So there is a less authentication. There is a less authentication, but easy way of authentication. So what was this? We have code based, we have authentication, OAuth, key based authentication, we have certificate based authentication, we have open to everyone. Then last format. Boss, I am not using any standard format. I will give you one username password. You enter that username password, I will give you data. So this is what? Username password, login credential authentication. I will give you one username password. You enter that, I will log in. Your Salesforce, login.salesforce.com. How are you logging in? With username, password. Are you getting my point? Clear? So these are the different mechanisms what we have to authenticate. So if you want to learn the integration, basically web services, tell me what you are supposed to learn. We have to learn first JSON, XML. What was this? Exchanging the data. When you know how to create this, then we have to learn about protocols. Generally we use HTTP and other formats. Then we are going to learn about authentication. In the authentication, open, key, OAuth, right. So these are the key topics that we have to understand when you're going for a web services. Right? Next. Okay. Now the question comes here. There are two formats. One is SOAP integration. Another one is REST. Now, look at the format here. Basically SOAP and REST. What was this SOAP? This is a Java application. This is a now, can Salesforce understand Java? Can Java understand Salesforce? No. So what they do? Now Telugu and Punjabi, if they want to talk, the common language is English. Telugu to English, English to Punjabi. Punjabi to English, English to Telugu. Translation. Here also, what the Java people will do, they will convert into XML. What is that XML? XML is common. Every language will understand XML. So convert the Java program into XML format. Give that XML to Salesforce. What Salesforce will do? Convert that XML into Apex. If the Salesforce want to give, write Apex program, convert into XML, give that XML to Java. Java people will convert that XML to Java program. Once a class is created, they know how to use it. So what is this XML called? WSDL file. What is the XML called? WSDL file. So if you are using a SOAP API, what is playing a role? WSDL file. What is that? Whatever the technology you are using, in the technology, define your service, convert them into WSDL, give that WSDL file to your client. What the client will do? Take that WSDL, convert into their language. So who is the player here? WSDL is the player. What is the format of the WSDL? XML. So to understand the WSDL, we need to understand the schema. Okay. Then REST API. In the REST API, what happened? Now there is a file here. The client. Now there is a file here. This is the data what I want to give. Now for this data there will be a path. API dot salesforce.com / now if these people want to call this, if the people want to call this, what they do? They take this address, make a request to this address. So here the request is going based on what? URL. Now for every resource I will have an address for this. I will give this address to client. When the client want, they call that URL. When you call the URL, resource will be open. Now you say login.salesforce.com. What was that? REST API. You are calling a URL. With that URL, the response, okay, I am making a request to you. How do you call a record? Salesforce.com / ID. That is what? REST API. We are calling a URL with the ID of the record. Record is coming to you. Are you getting my point? So REST API is going to work on what? URL. SOAP API is going to work on what? WSDL. REST is going to work on WSDL. SOAP is going to work on, okay. SOAP, okay, sorry. REST is going to work on URL. SOAP is going to work on WSDL. Okay. The next, I hope you got the basic idea. SOAP and REST. Then again, there are two types of system. You go to ATM, there are two types of ATMs what we have. First ATM, the first ATM says, I swiped the card, I made a withdrawal, then they asked, do you want to have one more transaction? I told yes. That will not ask me any password. Directly I will go with the second transaction. There is another type of ATMs. You swipe it, remove it, you made a transaction, thanks for using. Again, if you want to make a transaction, again swipe, again remove it. Am I right or wrong? There are two types of ATMs what we have, swipe and remove. Once I made a transaction, do you want to make another transaction? Yes, no password is required, you can continue. Second one, do you want to make one more transaction? Again you have to swipe, again enter the PIN number, then make it. Right? Are you clear about this? So the question here is it a single time transaction or a multiple access? So whatever the session that is created, should I use the same session for multiple transaction, or this session is used for only single transaction? Now you have authenticated, both the systems are connected, both of them are authenticated. Now the question is, whatever the session ID I am getting, is it used for one transaction, multiple transaction? Now you are making a Swiggy, you made an order on the Swiggy, made a payment. Now that is only for one time. Second time when you want to make a transaction, again one more. Amazon, one time. It is called stateless. So if you want to go for any stateless, we go for REST API. You want to go with a stateful, we go with a SOAP. You want the same ID to be used for multiple transactions, SOAP. You want the session ID to be used for only one transaction, REST. I hope you are good with this. So basic idea. This is overall codes what we are learning, what will be used where. So JSON XML for exchanging the data. Protocol is for set of guidelines which we have to follow for transferring, okay, sending a request, getting a response. Authentication, how do you prove you are a valid user? Open, key, WAD, certificate, login credential. SOAP and REST. SOAP will use WSDL, REST will use URL. And the session what I get is for one transaction or multiple transactions. Is that was clear? This is the overall course what we are going to learn, and this is the part by part we are going to see the examples. I hope everyone is good. Now as a part of declarative, I may try to use Salesforce to Salesforce. As somebody has asked me single sign-on, I'll try to cover a single sign-on example as a part of declarative. Right. So any other queries that we have? Any other queries from your end? Any other queries?
So Satish,
yeah.
Can you also cover like basics, like what are APIs? Very basic.
We'll be starting with the topic number. We have a topic for that. Okay. Now basically, look at this. Now you are using a system dot, right? What is that system dot? Who provided that system dot? Salesforce developed some programming, some functions they are giving you as a built-in. That's what is called API. Now you say messaging dot single email message. Who defined that? Salesforce has already defined some functionality. They've given you. If anybody want to make a mailing service, we have to use that. So it's a predefined programmatical interfaces what they already developed, which we are trying to use them and achieve the functionality. That's what we call them as APIs. Now with reference to different topics, we have different APIs which will be learning separately. Okay. Now here we say, let us say metadata API. Now how did you create an object? Setup, build, create object or schema builder. But programmatically, if you want to create an object, you require, who defined that service? Salesforce defined a services to create object, fields, relations, workflows. To create them, Salesforce has defined some predefined functions, and they are offered to you in the form of metadata API service. In the metadata API, what will be there? All the functions and classes required to create objects, fields using program. Now, how did you create a table in the database? User setup, build, create object, new custom object. But the same thing if you want to create a programmatically. Now Salesforce has already defined some services for that, and they are giving to you as a API. What is that? Predefined API, which is called metadata. So what is that? Basically API is list of services that are developed and granted to you to use the functionality, to build that functionality. So metadata API is to build objects, fields, relations programmatically. You have similarly tooling API. I'll tell one of the use case. Now I have an object with I have taken a enterprise edition. If I take enterprise edition, how many fields I can create? 200 fields I can create. Already I have a custom object with the 200 fields, but I have a requirement to create 5 more fields. Then I thought of removing any one of the 5 fields, existing field. Now the question is, which files I have to remove? Then I thought of knowing in the entire database, okay, for which fields less amount of data is entered. For which fields the people are not entering the data, I want to find out, I want to delete it. Now you are writing a test classes. Internally what it is running, how it is running, again it is a tooling API. So to achieve this type of services, Salesforce has defined some predefined functionalities and services which are delivered to you in the name of tooling API. Right? Are you getting my point? So these are the some of the predefined services offered by the Salesforce to you as API. Are you clear about it? Am I clear? Okay. So anyone else has any other query on this now? Right? Any other query on the course content or structure or the basic idea about what this? So what we are trying to learn first, web services. Integration consists of two modules. What is that? Declarative, programmatic. Web service include SOAP, REST. Data will be JSON, XML. Sometime we may transfer binary also. If I am uploading any image, uploading any file, that is internally transferred in the form of blob. Internally transferred in the form of blob, but data will be exchanged in the form of JSON or XML. What is the format in which we are exchanging? JSON or XML. What are the two major topics of web services? SOAP and REST. SOAP, when are you going to use SOAP? Okay, I want to use the same instance multiple number of times. I want to use the same session ID multiple number of times and request. REST is one time. So SOAP will be running on what? SOAP will be running on what? SOAP will be running on WSDL. REST will be running on URL. SOAP will be running on WSDL. REST will be running on URL. What type of authentications you have? Open, key, word, certificate, login credentials. Right? Clear for everyone? I hope every topic of the integration web service is got an idea. Clear? Clear, boss? Any other query from your end?
Just wondering, Satish, where can we find the notes for this integration?
I'll be sharing it, Amma. I'll be, coming to the notes, the same format. The integration notes will be available in the integration account. I'm going to create a separate username password for integration. I'll give the username password like the way you are accessing the development notes. Anybody who is new to the class, who has not taken development from me, right? So the people, I'll be sharing the username password of Salesforce account. There in the developer console, you'll be finding my notes. Notes I'll be pasting in this one. If the notes contain any images, I'll be pasting in the chat. For online people, they'll be sharing a Google Drive for integration notes. It will be a PDF of 250 pages PDF will be there. Right. They'll be sharing through the Google Drive. Right. So running notes I'll be accessing through developer console, and classroom people will be getting it to total 3 booklets will be getting. First booklet will be around 50 pages or 70 pages. Second booklet will be around 200 pages. Third booklet will be coming around 35 or 40 pages. 3 booklets will be given. First booklet for JSON XML and HTTP. Second booklet for REST API. Third booklet for SOAP API and Streaming API, Charter API. Hard copies that we will be getting. The same booklets online people will be getting through Google Drive. Running notes, examples you can access from the account. And whatever the screenshots are there, that I'll be posting in Charter. Salesforce Charter account, I'll be posting the screenshots. Right, videos, how to access the video. It will be on satishmaila.in. You can access from the site. You get into my site, access the videos.
Satish, one question.
1 minute, let me finish. You can go to my website, access your videos. The batch number will be 126. So this integration batch number is 126. You can access the videos with the number 126. Right. Yes, Amma, go ahead.
While transferring the data, sometimes we are masking the data before sending it to the other side.
Does
that fall in the SOAP integration part?
See, masking the data, here's a requirement. While sending the data, sometimes we mask it. See, there is a reason why we go with a blob. There is a predefined class called base. There is a predefined class that is up to your choice. Now, whenever you want to mask the data, it's not necessary that it should be SOAP or REST. Any data I can mask and send.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other? Generally, we do it for passing the username password. In the REST API, generally we use it, but it's not a restriction that we have to use for only REST. Wherever we want, we can mask it. Yeah. Any other queries from anyone else?
Satish, you said you'll share something in Salesforce Chatter. What is that?
In case if any images are there, they'll be posting in the Chatter. The images I cannot paste it in the developer console, so I'll be pasting in the Chatter.
Hello.
Yes, Amma.
Can we also send images in binary? I think you mentioned something about images.
That
So
will be-
along with data, if I want to send some
That,
Salesforce.
yeah, that we'll be discussing along with the topic. We can do it, Amma.
Okay. Okay. The other question is in SSO, do you also cover SAML or is it only OAuth?
So I'll discuss. Depends upon the context I'll be giving it. Okay. Depends upon the system what I'm covering. I'll discuss it.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Any other queries from your end? Any other queries?
Hi, Satish.
Yeah.
So the next class would be on Saturday, and the development class would be on Monday, right?
Yeah. So fine. That's all from my end for the day. So timings. 1 minute. Online, I'll answer your question. You're not audible to the classroom people. Give me a second. The next Saturday, we are starting the class. Please mute your mic, Amma. Next Saturday, I'll be starting the class at 8:30 a.m. Next Saturday, it will be at 8:30 a.m. class to 10:30 a.m. or I may go up to 11. Okay. But then on, your regular time is going to be so only for next week, it's starting at 8:30. Right. Then on, we'll be starting the class at 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. It may extend out by half an hour. Okay. So if you're okay, we can also make it 7. Right. 7:30 a.m. The class timings are fixed. It will not be altered. Don't ask me anything regarding the time. Times are fixed. The class will be only on Saturday. The integration class will be only on Saturday, 7:30 to 10:30. Timings are fixed. They will not be altered, irrespective of any request. They will not be altered. In case of any change, I'll notify well in advance. But regular class time is going to be 7:30 a.m. to 10:30. For next Saturday, the class time is 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Next Saturday. Then on the class timing will be 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Okay. And I require around 20 to 24 classes to finish this. So probably it comes around 6. Okay. So any one Sunday I'll be scheduling one extra class in the last one Sunday I'll be scheduling. I'll try to finish it by 6 weekends. Okay. I'll try to schedule the class on Sunday. If I'm able to schedule last 2 classes on Sunday, then it will be closed by 5 weekends or 6 weekends. Okay. So based on the mutual consent, we'll decide whether we can extend the class by one more day in the last, not every class, in the last sessions. Okay. If everybody is okay, I can take the last session on Sunday. We can finish in 6 weeks. Okay. So classes will be around 20 to 24 classes will be 24 hours will be taken. 20 to 24 hour sessions are required.
Satish, will you be sending the link for every class,
No.
or it will be common for?
Link will be fixed, Amma. Next week they'll be sending a fresh link. Then on the link will be fixed. Okay. In case of
fine.
any
Thank you.
password is modified, they'll notify you. Link will be fixed. In case if any password is modified, they'll inform you well in advance. Right? Any other queries from classroom? No? Chalo. And today, lightning class is starting today at 5:15 p.m. IST. From today, new lightning batch is starting. So whoever want to take the lightning class, they can go with the 5:15. Yes, Amma, go ahead. Online, go ahead.
You told yes, Satish, you told regarding the MuleSoft, you have 15 days class sessions you have, right? So are you offering any online classes for the MuleSoft
No, I'll not.
currently?
I have not been taking. Yes.